Hello everyone, in this video I am going to be talking about profit maximization, and I'm going to show you using the cost curves that we've talked about last week and introducing a new curve, the marginal revenue curve, where you can expect profit maximization graphically. So I'm going to show you and also show you sort of like the geometric logic behind profit maximization. So some key points. If you leave this video with anything, you need to leave it with these key points. And now I'm just going to kind of explain and using a cost curve and cost curves and the marginal revenue curve, these key points. So profit maximization happens when marginal revenue equals marginal cost. In a perfectly competitive market, marginal revenue is going to be the price. And then this is kind of like a caveat of this point right here. Firms are price takers. Dang, my hands are dry as heck. I need to moisturize. So profit maximization, I'm going to draw the short run coffee cost curves and the marginal revenue curve that I'm going to introduce today. Please bear with me as I am recording my own. This is the first time I've tried recording a video like this. Okay, so hopefully I don't take too long because this is actually hurting my hand. So some points of review. Just before I draw the cost curves, I'm going to draw short-run cost curves of short-run cost curves of a coffee shop, of a single firm. And we said in the short run, one factor of production is fixed and the other or more factors of production are variable. So you need at least one factor of production to be fixed in the short run. Okay. In the long run, everything is variable, but in the short run, one factor of production is fixed. The other factors of production are variable. And this has implications for our short run cost curves. Okay, so I'm going to start drawing our short run cost curves. So right here, this is going to be average total cost. X-axis is output, y-axis is price. So that's the cost per unit. Average total cost. I draw my average variable cost, even though I'm not going to really play with it a lot in this example. Average variable costs. Draw the marginal cost. I'm going to draw this little umbrella handle, and I'm going to explain the significance of that umbrella handle. And then remember we said that marginal cost crosses average variable cost and average total cost at its minimum points. I don't know if I did a good job of showing that, but let's pretend that I did. Okay, so another key review point is that the distance between average total cost and average variable cost is actually average fixed cost. Right, remember, it would be like the capital or the electric bill. And fixed costs don't vary with output. It doesn't matter whether you are excellent at producing coffee or you suck at producing coffee, you're still going to have to pay those fixed costs, right? And so if we actually think of we could actually graph average fixed costs per unit of output, we would see that it would be downward sloping and then it would hug the x-axis. So it'd be like a horizontal asymptote. So remember your pre-cal days with Basilio Pesina. Okay. And that also explains why it almost seems like average variable cost begins to get closer and closer to average total cost, almost to touch it. We also said that marginal cost, as soon as it crosses them at the minimum points, it's obviously going to bring average total cost and average variable costs up with them. So those are our short run cost curves of a coffee shop. Okay. Now, this phenomenon, we can actually split this function or this cost curve into two little bits. So the curve where it's downward sloping, and then as the marginal cost curve becomes upward sloping, we can this little umbrella part doesn't necessarily have to happen, umbrella handle I should say, but I drew it here because I wanted to review it. At this point, diminishing marginal returns hasn't kicked in yet. Decreasing marginal returns hasn't kicked in yet. And we see increasing marginal returns. And the reason why we have increasing marginal returns is because we have increasing marginal product. That term marginal, remember I said think about using the word additional twice. And you'll sound really awesome if you're using marginal in conversation with your parents or your family, or if you're out on a date, I don't know, use marginal, you'll sound super smart. But marginal product reflects the additional product from an additional unit of output. Okay, so additional twice. Marginal cost is the additional cost from an additional unit of output. Marginal utility, which goes all the way back to unit 1, is the additional utility from an additional unit of output, and so forth and so on. So we don't yet experience diminishing marginal returns, which we will eventually experience as soon as this marginal cost curve becomes upward sloping. We see, I guess, the second piece of this function, of this marginal cost curve, we would see what is called diminishing marginal returns. The reason why we get this is because of diminishing marginal product, which is that the idea that with an additional the product from an additional unit of labor diminishes at some point. So we can see in this marginal cost curve shows that it doesn't start off right away. Actually, we've talked about this with the Starbucks example that we did, where we saw that the second barista more than doubled output. But eventually we would expect, if we hold in the short run one factor of production fixed, that we would expect to see diminishing marginal product, and this is reflected in an increasing marginal cost curve. Remember, a marginal cost curve is the mirror image of a marginal product curve. Right, these are actually mirror images. Okay, so we see diminishing marginal product at this part of the function. And think about it. So if we have a Starbucks restaurant and we have one barista, right, because labor, it makes more sense to hold labor as the variable input in the short run, and then capital, the actual physical Starbucks, as the fixed input. If we add the second one, they might really work well together. We add the third one, maybe really work together. The fourth one, we start seeing, they're still producing more output, but one starts goofing off. It's harder to supervise. Sometimes they have occasional spills. It gets a little crowded in the kitchen. The fifth one, sixth one, seventh one. As long as capital is fixed, right, that Starbucks restaurant is fixed, that's an important phenomenon, right? Eventually, diminishing marginal product is going to kick in, and you should expect diminishing marginal returns, which is what we see here in this cost curve. All of that is review. Now let's get into the intro to new material, which I'm going to highlight in green. So I and M